Very good then, Mr. McGinnis. Welcome to my world.
You've just jumped inside the pull bag. Join TFG1Mike and the rest of the comic reading crew here at the GCRN as they make their great escape into comics. From DC, Marvel, IDW, Boom Studios, Zenoscope, and more, we have everything you want to read right here. Transformers comics? Yeah, we cover that. He-Man? Yeah, sure. DC superheroes like Batman, Batgirl, Nightwing, and Batman Beyond? Yep, we have those too. How about TMNT from IDW and I Hate Fairyland from Image Comics? Yeah, we have all that here. Plus, so much more. It's all inside the pull bag here on the Geekcast Radio Network. So without any further ado, it's time to talk about the comics we are reading right now here inside the pull bag.
Spoilers.
You have just jumped inside the pull bag here on the Geekcast Radio Network. This is episode 315, and I am TFG1Mike. Joining me for Batman Beyond Rebirth, as always, JT from Saskatoon. Hello, sir.
Howdy do.
We are here to wrap up the Long Payback. This is our second part, covering the next 3 issues of this 6-issue arc of Batman Beyond Rebirth. Written by Dan Jurgens, art by, I don't even remember off the top of my head, Phil Hester. I should have known that. Sorry, Phil. Jurgens and Hester on art. Now, what I love about issues 17 and 18, I wish I could get my art-capable friends to do this. I think Neil might have for me. There's a 2-part cover here, an alternate cover, in issue 17 and 18. The Faces cover with Batman. I assume that's Bruce, or is that Alfred? I don't know. It's basically Batman, an old man, and a bat on one side, and then on the other side is Batman, I think 10 and something else or somebody else. But basically, it's one of those combining covers things, and I wish I had that as a full image. That would be super cool. That variant cover was done by somebody. I'll find out here in a little bit. So yeah, once again, decades from now. We just love decades from now, don't we, JT?
Yep.
Yeah, buddy.
Yep.
So we start decades from now, and Kenny's dad, what's his name? Well, Payback, but I forget Anyway, Payback, who was the kid who was Payback, his father is the one that was in the suit, if you guys don't remember from last week. He's watching his monitors of the fight with Stalker and Batman. Basically says... He basically goes through and says, where is the honesty in that? It allows you to move from one wreckage that you leave in your wake, the tragedies you never have to account for until now. And damn if I don't love this page here after that, where you have the Terry and Matt. I almost said Terry and Tim. They're not Bruce and Matt. Jesus, I'm losing it, folks. And then you have Terry and Stalker. Oh man, that page is gorgeous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first thing I want to mention is like the stock cover where Matt and Bruce are looking at this screen of Stalker unmasking Terry. Kind of, I find it very reminiscent of one of my favorite episodes of The Batman, particularly Gotham's Greatest Criminal Mastermind. Where they have, like, who is Batman with this question mark on the silhouette and the countdown. Like, it kind of reminds me of that. And I love that it's a cliche, but it's a villain cliche I love. Is like, soon you will come to know how much I despise you, Batman.
Yeah.
Just like that whole dialogue. And it's going to, by the end of it, folks, we'll get to it. But, I mean, by the end of it, it just feels so good when the villain's taken down like this. And then we get back into it. Phil Hester's art, like when he gets a double page spread like this, where you have like the main image of Stalker, like, throttling Terry, and he's going to rip the mask off, and you see, Matt and Bruce looking on, and Dana and Barb and Ken watching on, and one of these 3 ladies is going to make a comment about Bruce and Child Protective Services by the end of this story. call me naive, but I think it's gonna be Dana.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like the whole, like, you see like how mad Stalker's kind of been driven by everything, like from his original defeat by Terry to, like, you know, the robot apocalypse and him being Darth Vader of the Batman universe now. And he's like, you know, a true hunter kills the hunted, but not until he gets close enough to look his prey in the eye and be acknowledged as master. And then Terry's like, I love that, but what happens to the hunter when the prey bites back? And we get another awesome Phil Hester
electroshock full page. Yep.
And I like how he made the effort to, like, with the light going off, and you see like the shadows play across like Terry's musculature with the costume and all that, but you also see, like, specifically on the bat symbol, how it's been like got pock marks and dings on it.
Yep.
And it just looks like you don't even have to feel, but you just tell that's painful as hell for Stalker.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, plus, you know, Stalker is not just a human hunter anymore. He's not just Craven. He's partly metal and partly real now. So, you know, he's a Silverhawk Stalker. Dave Johnson was the one that did the variant cover for this issue and for the next issue, I believe. So anyone can find me, Dave Johnson, on Twitter, or someone that I could ask a question of this cover, if it's actually, you know, this 2-panel cover thing, because I want that as one image, because that would just be super cool. Anyway, sorry.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does. So Batman obviously puts his mask back on, and
Bruce gets a call from Dana, and she proceeds to bitch him out.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, the Batcave has a phone? No, the Manor does.
Yep.
I do like that Bruce tries to get out of the chair.
Again.
Yeah. And, like, I realize that Dana hasn't been on The Secret for that long, but she's being awfully judgmental.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
You know, in terms of, like, it's like, yeah, he says the man, like, you know, it's like Terry has what it takes to prevail, and she's like, says the man who's broken so many of his own bones, and you set Terry up for this life. You owe it to him. And I was like, okay, could you be less professionally outraged for Terry and more supportive somehow? I don't know.
Like, and I know this could, well, okay, so do we know exactly, has it ever been said, and I think it has, so I'm basically answering and asking my own question at the same time here. Has it ever been expressly said in the cartoon or in other comics how old Matt is supposed to be if Terry is still a teenager or almost college age?
Well, I think at this point in the timeline, he's 19, 20, because he was about 16... I'd say he would almost be 21, because I think he was about 16 years old in the animated series.
Matt was, or Terry?
Terry, and I think Matt was about...
He was about 8 or 10 in the animated series, so yeah, here he would be 13, 14 maybe?
Yeah, he, like, very, like, Golden Age Dick Grayson...
Right.
Sort of age.
The reason why I ask this is because I wish this story... somehow, some way, I wish this whole arc at this point right now, because of what Dana is saying, I wish this was not this version of Dana. I wish it was epilogue Terry and Dana, where Terry is in his 30s and 40s, and Dana understands, and they're eventually, you know, that they've gotten married, or they're this, or they're, like, basically... make Terry older. Yes, Matt could still be Robin, or he could find, you know, whatever, but, like, this whole thing, that I don't like this Dana right now. I don't at all. This is the first time I have not liked Dana Tan in almost 20 years at this point, because holy shit, dude, next year is 20 years of Batman Beyond.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
I can't wait to see what they do for that. But yeah, so Dana's bitched Bruce out, and he tries to get out of the chair, and Matt's like, nah, sit your ass down, old man. And you see him, like, you think Terry's in trouble, that he really needs help. And Bruce isn't willing to admit, like, still that he can't do this anymore. Because you see, it's like, no, I'm just tired of sitting in this damn chair.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Matt's like, if Terry really does need help, where's it going to come from? And you see him like look at the case with Damien's Robin's suit. Yeah. Gee, that's not foreshadowing at all.
Yeah, no. And then we get, League of Shadows 10.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Although, if you've ever heard of there's an Italian comic book called Diabolic, and I've seen the movie. Her suit kind of reminds me of Diabolic's suit. Just look up Danger Diabolic on the Wikipedia, folks, and educate yourselves there. It'll take too long here. Her suit is very reminiscent of that design. But, it's 10, and she's like, help Terry, don't help Terry. Okay, help Terry. And you can see that, clearly she's probably not in the best mental space, because she's got what looks like a couple of pictures of Terry tacked up on her closet door there or something. Maybe she's just in love with him, but, can't be with him. Who knows? This could turn into an interesting storyline down the road. Mm-hmm. But we get back to Stalker and Terry going at it, and you can see like they're not pulling punches anymore. I mean, Terry's straight up shredding his face with his talons. Stalker's trying to electrocute him with his quarterstaff there.
It's a buck and a quarterstaff.
And that just, yeah. Oh, God. And I love the shot where Terry, he's got like a fistful of bat darts or mini batarangs that he throws them in, like he impales Stalker in the chest, and it's just like, that's, for Terry, that's particularly brutal. Like I know he's in the fight of his life here, but even for Terry, who's fought, slightly more dangerous villains before, that's still pretty hardcore.
Oh yeah.
And I love the line from Stalker where he's like, normally I reserve this for the armored vehicles that poachers use. It would seem a case of overkill for a man. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm just, wow, like you honestly don't care anymore, do you, Stalker? Mm-mm. And, as we come basically to the midway point of the story, we get the arrival of the true big bad here in that Payback is back. Mm-hmm. For back pay in Payback. Okay, I'll stop. Mm-hmm. But I do, again, Phil Hester's like on point with these like full page, shots like this, because that is badass. The way Payback comes in with his electro whip, and Stalker turned his quarterstaff into a trident, and he's about to skewer Terry as only a borderline psychopathic cyborg hunter can. And then the villains go to war with each other.
Of course.
And I love like the bloody look on Stalker's face. You were the one who paid me? Mm-hmm. I know, like, what did you think of that entrance?
The entrance of Payback? Oh, I loved it. I thought it was great. Because basically he's like, you're not going to be the one to kill Batman. I am. It's the standard villain thing, but, this guy is, I guess, tired of people who are defying him. Yada, yada, yada.
That and the fact that that it's one of the more annoying villain tropes in like comics, media, movies, all that. When the main villain steps up, you've disappointed me for the last times. Mm-hmm. Starscream. Now, aside from Megatron, whenever a villain has said that, it's usually after their employees have softened up the hero to the point they're like, okay, I'm going to step in here, but I'm not going to pay them that bonus because fuck that. And he's just being like this whiny little punk. He's like, you didn't do exactly what I said. You're not getting your pay. And it's like, wah, you're a villain. Like, what did you expect was going to happen, numbnuts?
Yeah, really.
But, we got that, they go... I think it's just kind of like, damn, dude, that's cold. When Payback, like, uses his electro whip to slice Stalker's legs off.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just like, damn you! Mm-hmm. And then Batman, and then he's just hanging out, chilling, middle of a fire, watching them fight.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, why is Payback here?
Yeah, really.
Well, it's kind of in the name, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. So then 10 arrives to save the day, and that's great and all, and I love Melanie, and I love 10, but I love the old 10 suit. I love Phil Hester's art, but I wish they would have used the classic. This thing just doesn't look right at all. Like, the face mask of it doesn't look right, the bodysuit of it doesn't, I don't know, it just...
Well, it's like... The redesign, it's not bad, but yeah, I'm with you. I enjoy the classic playing card aesthetic they had in the original suit. I mean, you got like this stylized 10 on her thigh with like an upside down heart.
Yeah, and that's fine. My main problem with this, now that I'm looking through it again through these pages, is basically it's a cross between Iron Man Mark 1 when he was in the cave and Man in the Iron Mask, the Iron Mask from Man in the Iron Mask. The whole face thing just doesn't...
It's much more armored feeling than before. Although I do like, just before 10 comes in, I do like the recap of who Payback is. Like, Matt's like, who's this Payback guy? And Bruce is like, yes, exposition for me to do. You know, because he lays it out, and... You know, it succinctly sums up one of the more emotionally powerful episodes of Batman Beyond, which I don't think a lot of people recognize. That there were a lot, especially, like, I was just out of high school when Batman Beyond came out, but still close enough that a lot of the stuff that Terry dealt with and other characters dealt with, I still felt that very, very strongly. So, and that was always like a really powerful episode. Is like this kid who just wanted attention from his dad went nutsy cuckoo and became a supervillain, which, you know, you either fall into some toxic waste or you fall into a pile of technology. I mean, either way, it's not going to end well.
Nope.
But then, then we get the nice recap for Melanie as well.
Yeah.
And I love Matt. He's like, you know, she's actually been trying to reform herself, partly to do the right thing, partly because she has a crush on your brother. And Matt's like, a lady crook with a crush on Batman. Go figure.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Bruce is like, he's not actively giving Matt the eyeball, and he's like, I wonder what Selena's up to nowadays.
No, he so is giving Terry the eyeball, or Matt the eyeball. Because that was the first thing. I'm like, okay, that's a good screen cap. You know, and I posted that on the Pullbag Facebook page. I'm like, yep, that's definitely worth it.
Oh, yeah. But, you know, we get back into it, and, you know, what are you doing here? Look around, Bats. It's not like you have this catastrophe under control. And I could see, if this was an animated one of the episodes, I could just see Terry doing, like, that pursed lips and, like, why you kind of stare that he's known for. And then Payback grabs her, drops a thermal detonator, and blows up the remains of the already blown-up building.
Yep.
And it's just, again, like I said last episode, like how they end these issues with these great cliffhangers like this. Like, then there's this great image of Stalker and Terry going ass over tea kettle from like 50 stories up.
Yep.
Or maybe 120 stories. I forget how tall the buildings were in Neo Gotham.
They're very tall. I mean, Dana said she lived on the 135th story or something or other, so very, very tall.
Yeah.
I love this issue. I love what Jurgens is doing with it. Loving Phil Hester's art. It's all really, really amazing. Jurgens, I know we said last week that you weren't that thrilled with the Tim Drake story from 2015 series, but Jurgens, since he's had the book, since it was no longer Kyle Higgins anymore, because Kyle specifically told stories that were basically DC Animated Universe continuity. This is basically, this series, and the series that Jurgens has done before this, is basically birthing out of Future's End. And I love what they're doing, because they're telling, like I said last week, they're telling new and compelling stories. They're not advertising, they're arranging and putting certain characters more in the front lines than just keeping them in the background. Like, the fact that Matt is eventually going to be the new Robin. Like, hello, like, we can see that, you know, throughout this whole arc at this point up to issue 17. It's so fun, and just seeing where Jurgens brings in the classic Bat Beyond villains. I don't know, even though this is time travel and yada 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 and whatever, I don't know if they're ever going to bring Ink in. I don't know how they could, because supposedly she's dead, but, you know, deaths in comics mean nothing at this point, unless you're, you know, a box of rice.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, Ink, if she is dead, you could always, like, fan fiction away to turn What's-His-Knob from that episode of the animated series where you have that guard or caregiver who was like, because he's already halfway to being Ink already. Yeah. You know, he's the Blob.
Yeah, I would rather have them turn her daughter into like an Ink or something than have them turn that guy into a male version of Ink.
They've had female clay faces, and Ink was kind of the analog to Clayface in the future and all that. And as like you said, this issue in particular is the whole arc really, but this issue is like a perfect sequel to the original Payback episode.
Oh, absolutely it is, yeah. So issue 18, first cover is basically Matt, you know, in case of emergency, break glass, and he's gonna basically take, you know, Mjolnir to the Robin suit costume in the cave there.
It's a Bat Mjolnir. Branding is important after all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's breaking open. Clearly, we get it, DC. He's going to be the new Robin, like, duh.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But then again, kids who aren't probably, you know, have just been reading this series. I mean, and, you know, what you're saying before about the timeline being wonky. I mean, this spun out of Future's End, but then you have how presumably Dr. Manhattan has been futzing with the timeline, and there's the missing, like, 11 years that Wally West has said in the DC Rebirth one-shot. Like, the DC, you know, if Marvel has a sliding time scale, then DC has an ever-swirling pool. You know, it's always changing, but that being said, you know, and we have that other half of the cover you're talking from last issue.
Yeah.
I love, again, like you said, I love how they always start decades from now. Yes, we get it. It's the future. Yeah. You know, and I say it like that. Every time I see that decades from now, I hear that a line from the first episode of Futurama. Welcome to the world of tomorrow. Shut up, Terry.
Yep.
But yeah, you know, why did you interfere? Who are you? An ally of Batman's friend? Perhaps something more? And again, Jurgens' villain dialogue is on point, man. It is.
Yeah, it is.
It's one of those things you just eat it up with a spoon. So good.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, but all I care about is that Batman comes for you, and when he does, he dies. But for that to happen, he has to survive the next few seconds. Mine is an evil laugh. Okay, he didn't really say that, but I think it would have been appropriate if he did.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that Terry's falling. He's out cold. Stalker apparently has like a cybernetic LoJack in his cyber arm that he grabs like Ten's card, or maybe it's his card, and he grabs Terry and he saves him because he might be half crazy, but he's still an honorable SOB.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then we get back to Payback, and he's basically like, you know, now how nice to see Gotham burn. These people are finally getting what they deserve. How can you think that? These people are dying. So the panel before it expands into his side, into Payback's side of it, this specific panel, this is what I'm talking about with her suit. Yes, I like how part of the playing card thing is there, and that's great. The heart on her shoulder there, or whatever else with the 10. But the rest of it looks like a Tony Stark knockoff. It's horrible.
I don't think it's so much a Tony Stark knockoff. but it's got this overly armored feel, like not New 52 armored Batman and armored Green Lantern sort of look that Jim Lee did initially, but it's kind of like how I talked about Justice League Doom in the last episode with Jack having the laser eye. Ten's overall suit look like it's segmented, and it looks more reminiscent of the Ace that they had in that movie.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not bad, but it would look better if there wasn't so many lines giving us this armored look.
Yeah, because in that panel that I'm talking about where she's saying people are dying, we only see the white, because it's, you know, her gimmick has always been black and white, half, you know, down the middle. And on the right side is all the white stuff, and it's like, here's, you know, the ribeye, here's the this, here's the that. It's like they're marking off sections of meat on her body, and I don't like. That's the only thing about Phil Hester's art I do not like, is the Ten suit, because the black side of it looks fine. It looks smooth. It looks this. It looks that. It does not look like it has the armored, segmented sections, at least from what I can tell. If they ever show that side fully. But yeah, that's really my only complaint about the art, is her suit is just god awful.
Yeah, I do like, you know, Payback does the cool villain thing where he just, you know, backhands her over his shoulder like that. You know, Batman must see what happens to you. You have no right to kill innocent people. And like, again, villain dialogue on point. What this infernal rotting hellhole did to a young innocent boy gives me the right. You know, it's that sort of pompous villain speak that, you know, when reality comes crashing down, you know, so good. And I like that you know, Matt's like, the news cut away to this. Payback teleported one of their cameras in, and he wants Terry to know. And I like that, you know, got the Jetson firefighters at work here. And then Terry saves them, and I like how one of the firefighters is like, "Shway timing."
Yeah.
Like, here, let me divert my notice from this 15 alarm fire here to wave at the superhero saving my friends. You know, and I like how Terry was... Okay, so Kenny was he as young as Matt in the show, or maybe a couple years old?
No, Kenny was a young kid. He was maybe, if Matt was between 8 and 10 in the show, Kenny was maybe between 6 and 9. Like, I don't think... more
or less the same age as Matt.
More or less, yes, but he was younger than Matt.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, more or less within plus or minus a couple of years. So, if, you know, Payback, if he thinks Kenny is this old, maybe 19, 20, well, then he would be older than Matt. But point is, you know, Batman gets teleported away by Payback into a futuristic version of the water trap from Harry Houdini's act. And, you know, he seals his suit, and then, you know, Payback starts pumping dubstep into the tank. That evil bastard. And then, you know, he eventually starts cracking the glass, and he's like puts like lasers in or something, and again, Matt and Bruce, because they're playing like armchair superheroes here, you know, wondering how did Kenny grow up to be such a psycho, and Bruce is like, you know, we're missing a piece of the puzzle here, and you know, Terry gets out, and then he gets electro whipped to death. Almost, yeah. And again, like, you see like how painful, and like the energy arcing like fire off. And you see like that pained look on the silhouette of his face, and it's like, what do you want? Payback. Boom. And I was like, he said the thing. I mean, when I read that the first time I read through this, I was like, Captain America and the Avengers. I understood that reference.
Yep.
But, you know, Payback for what did, you know, and Bruce, you know, goes back in, does research. We see that Kenny was fucking tortured.
Yeah.
In the rehab center. And then we find out that Kenny's dad left him there, and Kenny took the only way out that he felt was available to him.
Yeah.
And took his own life, and that's just even for like compared to like say Barbara Gordon getting gut shot in The Killing Joke, this is like the other darkest moment in Batman history.
See, I always thought, and this is just me, people can go back to our Killing Joke, both the movie episode and the comic episode. I always thought Joker did more to her than just shoot her.
I love the fact in that story, like I don't love, but
I know what you mean.
I love the fact that they leave it like purposely vague, like, and the horror is built up in our own minds. Did the Joker let his rubber chicken loose, or didn't he?
Yeah.
It's just like, ew, heebie-jeebie. And just the look that Phil Hester gave Bruce there when the realization, you see Bruce mentally break a little bit. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, holy shit. And there is that great reveal where it's like, you killed my son. And Terry's like, what the hell? And you don't even see him. He puts the hood back on. Because, I mean, most villains at this point would just be ranting and raving and, like, hitting the switch. And he pulls out all these Wile E. Coyote-looking guns that pop out and just start annihilating Batman. Because I didn't even notice that he got glue cuffs on his hands, and then he's getting shot with, like, I don't know, a laser of some type. Yep.
And then we go back to the cave, and Bruce is like, "This is too much for Terry to handle. I have to be helpless." And Matt's like, "Maybe you are, but I'm not. Those old vids of you training Damien, I've watched them all. I've done the same drills over and over and over again. You can't go out like that. You'll be recognized. Not a problem. Not with all the stuff you have here." Smash. Bruce is like, humph.
Like, seriously, at this point in Batman's history, the Batcave is kind of like those hero creators that they had in games like Champions Online and City of Heroes, where you literally spend the better part of your day tweaking aspects and costume designs to come out like the greatest original costume ever, and then you see like 15 other guys that have done the same thing you've done. Yep. Not that I've played those games, but I like how...
Yes, you have. Don't lie.
Yeah. I like how he takes, the mask, the belt, a hoodie. Terry's getting, like, beat, and Matt's, of course, fun. Well, if you got a hover Batmobile, you got a hover Redbird.
Yeah.
You call that, although Redbird was a car for Tim.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You do what I say." And he's like, "I'm ready, and this will be the ultimate in Shui." And I was like, could have done better on that costume design there, guys.
Well, the costume will get better. That's just a temporary. I don't think that's the final costume.
Yeah, this is like Matt's proto-Robin suit here is the paper bag and Fantastic Four Union suit costume that Peter Parker's worn a couple of times in the comics. It's like, it works. It doesn't work that well. Mm-hmm. But we end it with this, like, Gotham's on fire. We see Wayne Manor, a silhouette of Bruce, like, looking on, like, oy vey. And I like how they did, instead of the dynamic duo, next issue, the duo dynamic.
Dynamic. Dun, dun, dun. Yep.
Now, there is some, like, I have print copies of this, so there's some I want to mention, but I'm going to save that till we wrap up here. So, what do you think of this second issue of these three here?
I think it's good. I don't think it's such a middle issue of the three issues of the 4, 5, and 6 like issue 2 was of this arc. Like, with issue 15, issue 14, 15, and 16, those all tied together as almost one story. I do like this. It's basically transitioning into having Matt become Robin. We finally get the reveal of the villain, obviously. At least the one villain in this story, because obviously the Joker's still out there somewhere.
Yeah, just biding his time.
Yep.
Old Uncle Joker.
Mm-hmm.
But I love how the cover, I like that image of Matt, like the proverbial bat out of hell. Although initially when I saw this cover, I also thought of, the Nightwing cycle coming through the museum doors in Batman and Robin. Oh, so. But I do like the cover, like, Payback. He's got his whip and he's throttling Terry. The secondary cover isn't as awesome as the first two, folks. It's just Terry flying through the night and seeing like a
come to Metropolis with Superman.
Superman's like just smiling. You almost hear that ting from his teeth.
Yeah, the only thing about this cover that I want a larger version of is the 80 Years of Superman logo that's in the bottom right-hand corner.
Oh, yeah.
Of that cover. Now, we should mention, and I think you did just mention this, but I was more so reading the wedding invitation than listening to you, sadly. It's got a Nightwing keychain on the table there, because the wedding stuff is addressed to Dick Grayson, so that's hilarious.
Yeah. And I've loved those issues, the whole lead up to the Bat wedding. But
yeah, I haven't even. I need to get into that. I've intentionally stayed away from it because I'm not jumping on Batman at the wedding. I'll start at Tom King's first issue at some point.
Yeah, I've got from the beginning of Rebirth. I've got most of Batman and Detective, and it's been pretty solid. Not perfect, but solid. But we get to, of course, decades from now, and Dana busting into the Batcave, and Terry's in trouble. Awful trouble. Yeah, no shit. I mean, at this point, this guy has fought a kid who telekinetically controlled a giant fucking robot, a shape-changing, liquid-based assassin, and a man who is literally a walking radioactive meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
This is awful. No, this is level 2, honey, compared to the shit Terry's dealt with.
Yeah, this is nothing.
Yeah. So she goes in, and Payback will kill him. I know, Dana. What are you going to do about it? Call the police? The Justice League? Not exactly. Then she sees Matt. He's like, I'm almost there, Mr. Wayne. Should I attack? And Wayne just goes back into it, and she's like, you sent a boy? Have you lost your mind? And he's like, that's absurd. There must have been something you could have done. And he's literally like, what else could he have done besides call Barbara, who's already tied up, making sure the rest of the city doesn't burn to a cinder? Now, I realize she has a very valid argument, but
she does, but she's going about it the wrong way.
Well, it's just like, after you get a shot of Terry being tortured, and Matt's there, and Bruce directs him to knock out the power supply and save Terry, and then eventually you see Dana sit down and is like, you're using a child like this. Sick. And it's like, honey, do you know anything about the history? You have to know the history of Batman in general in Gotham. Up until you were personally involved in the story, you probably didn't give two shits about what happened to those kids, other than, the most, like when you see the help sick and starving kids in Africa with, World Aid or something like that. But her, bitching, complaining about this, not that she doesn't have a valid argument, like I said, mounts right up there to people like Movie Blob on YouTube who have, parroted the idea that Bruce Wayne is ultimately at fault for all the bad things in Gotham, and Batman's not needed, and he could have, put all his money that he's put into his Bat-Tech into, like, he's been doing that from the beginning and fighting crime as Batman. It's not his fault. He's tried to mitigate the symptoms, you assholes. But back to the story. Matt knocks out the power, saves Terry. Payback's trying to activate the backup power, and he's like, cuffs, get them off. And I've always wondered if that of all the technology you've seen in Batman, like glue cuffs like that, I wonder if you could even have that sort of technology for real. Like, like a non-lethal option for police.
Maybe, especially in the future, especially this future, so who knows.
But I like that, he gets the backup power on, he starts torturing Terry again, Matt finally knocks out the generator, and they try to take on Payback together.
They try to, yes.
But I love how he's like, you should have mentioned dying on my invitation, Gray. I would have worn my formal attire. I was like, even in the midst of, possible death, Terry's still a sarcastic badass.
Of course he is.
And I do like that. You can't possibly... And again, Phil Hester's art on point. I love the look, the menacing look of Terry. He's got his talons popped and he's bearing down on Payback. But the panel before with the bat symbol being projected from Terry's chest, presumably, it's kind of like those classic... from John Romita Sr. and the artists in the mid 60s, early 70s, when you get the spider light on a criminal.
Yep.
It's just like that. And he bears down, they go to it again. He's going to kill himself. He takes his broken electro whip and shoves it into his arc reactor. It's what it looks like, folks. It's not actually an arc reactor. I'm sure DC's not ripping off Iron Man. Even though both companies have done that time and again.
They could. I mean, they ripped off Iron Man to make Ten's new suit, so why not? So yeah, we get Payback basically.
He's gonna
return to sender.
He's gonna kamikaze this.
Yeah, he's gonna try, but.
But I do like that Terry's like, "Hoo-hoo! The gold star for preparation goes to you. Fortunately, I get the platinum." And he's Payback's hardly. It's A for effort on that one, Terry. You didn't quite stick the landing.
Yeah.
And then Matt's like, screw it, I'm going in. And here's Data, and he's like, this is what you wanted all along, isn't it? Another young acolyte to be dragged into this obsession of yours. It's like, okay, you're concerned for a kid, I get it, but is this really the time to be bitching out somebody when he's obviously trying to help these guys, not die?
Mm-hmm.
Also, she's getting way up on the high horse when she drags out words like acolyte and obsession.
And then, child protective services and yada, 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 and all that.
Oh, I guarantee you, I'm putting it out there, Dana's going to be involved with Target Batman because she should probably march right up to Barbara Gordon with CPS, and she's going to drop a dime on Bruce Wayne. I'm putting money on it now. She's going to narc on Bruce Wayne.
Maybe.
But so they get into it again, Batman and Payback. Ken gets into it a bit. Payback starts electro choking her, and then in a scene reminiscent of the 1980s Flash Gordon film, "Here I come to save the day," and Matt crashes his bike directly on top of Payback.
Yeah, that was bad.
Although Terry, understandably pissed and complete within his right to be. Dana didn't encourage him. I mean, Bruce didn't encourage him, as Dana is clearly trying to do here. I stand by it. She's gonna narc on Bruce Wayne, guaranteed.
Yeah. I don't like her stance in this. That's the out of all the characters, everyone always says that Max is the most annoying character at this point. No. Right now, Dana is the most annoying character. I understand, like you said, where she's coming from, but see, here's the thing. I came from being a child of a ward of the state. So, this is why I'm like, lady, lay off. They're not doing anything. This is Matt's choice. Matt wants to help. Matt, at this point, is old enough to be able to make his own choice to help. What I love about the end of this issue is we basically bring it full circle around with Stalker and Tony Stark. I mean, Terry McGinnis. I'm sorry. Like I said, as of this recording, I just read Tony Stark Iron Man #1, so written by Dan Slott. And Terry showing up in the village in his black pants, black shirt, white, gray shirt, and sunglasses. I'm like, hey, it's Tony Stark with Wayne Industries, or Wayne Enterprises, or whatever they're calling the company these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Terry is eventually returning the favor to Stalker. And
giggled, and I feel bad for giggling a bit when you see Stalker on 2 peg legs. Like,
yeah.
Oh, I felt bad. But that whole thing where you see how mad, Payback is after the loss of his son. Like, he just can't admit. So, like, this is how narcissistic and emotionally distant this man is. Like, you abandoned your son. You are responsible. Like, he's projecting because he can't deal with his own guilt.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, no shit, you're pissed, but be pissed at the right guy, asshole. And, they cut his power conduits, it blows up, he's disabled and being left for the police. But, again, Terry has every right to be pissed at Bruce. They could have called the Justice League. The Justice League probably would have gotten there about 3 seconds after Terry's head was popped off his shoulders.
Yeah, really.
Superman's fast, but,
he ain't that fast.
Well, depending on what continuity, but, Terry's pissed. They go back to Bruce, and Dana just has this look at it like, you've gotten away with it this time, old man. Someone should have reported you. What are you going to, like, handcuff Matt to a post or something, woman?
Yeah, really.
Again, and we get into this in the first couple issues of Target Batman, where, Terry's like, WTF, Bruce?
Yeah.
You brought a young, impressionable, younger sibling into this world of superheroes and supervillains with cool tech, and they're fighting bad guys, and it seems like a grand adventure, and obviously that's where Matt's coming from, but, like I said, Terry might be slightly for this, like he understands where Matt's coming from, and he does his best to deal with it. Like I said, Dana is going to call the cops. Guaranteed. Yep. But, yeah, like you said, we ended with Terry, we're doing what's right. And then he's like, let's see what we can do about those legs. And, he understands where Stalker's coming from. That's one of the best endings to a Batman Beyond arc yet is, Jurgens gets it. Like, in this future, after everything that's happened, Batman does what's right.
Yep, absolutely.
So, the one thing I said before, like, through these issues, and some of the first 3 we talked about, folks, there are ads at the end of these issues for the new Age of Heroes that's coming out through DC currently, like post Dark Knights. Right. And they're bringing stuff like the Silencer, the new Challengers title has just started, the Immortal Men, which is drawn, I don't think written, but drawn by Jim Lee. And some of this stuff is like, I love it when Marvel and DC have these initiatives where they, try and bring back new versions of new things, new characters. It showed that creativity isn't dead in the medium like I may have thought at one time. And I don't mind the ads like this. That used to annoy me, but...
Well, here's the thing. Like, okay, so what you're talking about here is basically the previews of these new things, and they're giving you like a 2 or 3 page preview. That to me is a preview. It's not an actual... they are advertising, but it's not like, if you picked up Batman Beyond 17... Actually, any of the Long Payback arc, issue 14 to 19. You picked up any of those 6 issues, and you're going to get 2 pages of story and an ad. 2 pages of story and an ad page. That's what I love about digital comics is whatever ads are in books, they're at the end of the books. They don't break up the story like physical issues do.
Well, yeah.
And I understand why physical issues do that. I get that. Don't get me wrong, I do. But I've been reading digital for so long now. I feel like The Plague from Hackers. Ew, hard copy. Like,
well, to each their own. Like, I've seen online, like, Justin Eacock, Mr. Eacock from This Week in Geek and Terrible Warriors, talking about how he's getting rid of a lot of his physical media because, at some point it stops being a collection and you become a hoarder, and I agree with that. Like, But I've always enjoyed the physical copies more than anything. But yeah, like the Immortal Man's pretty cool. Like there's Damage, which is a retread of the Damage character from like post-Crisis DC when he was part of like New Teen Titans and then Titans and all that. New Challengers, the Terrifics, which is basically DC's stab at a proper Fantastic Four-like team. Like, I read a few of these folks. I highly recommend them. But yeah, overall, this arc in and of itself, individual issues I've been given 5 out of 5s. Overall, I'm giving the arc itself about a 4 out of 5, or a 4.5 out of 5. Because there's really the only thing that I disliked is, yes, they make Dana into such a friggin' harpy.
Yep.
Like, I understand you're outraged and incensed, and as well you should be, because young boy, dangerous situation. I don't discount that. It's just, I would be like I said, I'd be very surprised if she doesn't call the cops. And she'll probably like try and keep it so she doesn't have to reveal Terry's Batman, and it just gets really awkward and she looks like a crazy person.
Yep.
So.
Very much so. Overall, I'll give the whole arc a 4.5 or 4. Actually, I'll probably give it a 4 because I did not like the whole Dana thing, and I'm sorry, Phil. I understand this was your style and all that, but I'm sorry. 10's suit is just bad in my mind. Like, the other version of 10 that was done by somebody else in, the Kyle Higgins run, that reminded me of Animated Series 10. That was like, ooh, hello. This, not so much. She was sexier in her League of Shadows or League of Assassins or whatever outfit than she is in the 10 suit at this point. So yeah, 4 out of 5 for me, 4.5 out of 5 for you for this. Long Payback. I'm still thoroughly engrossed in Batman Beyond Rebirth from Dan Jurgens. I don't think it's issue 20, but I do know issue 21, we get the return. Is it issue 22? Is it? No, it's issue... Okay, so issue 20 of Batman Beyond Rebirth starts Target Batman. Issue 21 is part 2, but it kicks off with one of, if not, at the time, the New 52, my favorite Nightwing artist at the time, Will Conrad, is going to be on Batman Beyond Rebirth from issue 21 to I don't know when. As soon as I saw it was him, I immediately tweeted him. I didn't message him on Facebook, but I tweeted at him. I commented on some of the stuff he'd done on Facebook. I'm like, how long are you going to be around here? Because I'm really digging this. So, Target Batman, next arc for Batman Beyond. Don't know how long it's going to be, how many issues, but I can't wait because I think they're finally going to bring Scarecrow into the Batman Beyond universe.
Yeah, and I always felt like Spellbinder was, again, like bringing a proper, future version of Scarecrow, but I always felt Spellbinder, like he is an update of a Silver Age Bat villain. He was also eventually used in The Batman, in a very extreme remake. But I always kind of felt like they were going for kind of a Scarecrow thing with Spellbinder and Beyond being like the psychologist and all that.
Yeah, they were, but several things in the Batman Beyond issues for issue 20 and 21 have led me to believe it's either Spellbinder or maybe a proper Scarecrow or something, because, and this isn't just Scarecrow, but just the way they've said it and the way that things are manifesting in the Target Batman story, they've used the term fear several times. Spellbinder was never about fear. He was all, yes, you're right, he is the amalgam of, like, he's the copy of the Scarecrow type character. However, it's also he was more of distract and misdirection, whereas Scarecrow himself is just pure on fear. So who knows? Maybe it's Scarecrow's son, Scarecrow's daughter. I don't know. They had Joker's daughter back in the New 52, so who the hell knows what the hell is going to happen. But I'm very excited about Target Batman for the next story arc for Batman Beyond. I don't know when JT and I will be getting to that, because as I said earlier and as I've said throughout the episode, I don't know how many issues that's going to be. What have you got coming up on whatever you're doing?
Well, gonna hopefully record tonight a new episode of the Comic Connoisseurs with Ben Carver and Red Ink. You know, we record that every so often because life has continually gotten in the way of late. And so you can find me there. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at JT from Saskatoon.
You can find me on Twitter at TFG1Mike. As far as what the Pullbag has coming up, folks, well, we're going Autobotly after next week, because next week we're hitting the mat. We're entering that squared circle with Boom Studios WWE Volume 1, and Ryan the Uneven Flow Merkley will be joining me for that. It'll be a Pullbag Mayhem Mike's crossover where we're going to discuss the first volume of Boom Studios' WWE comic. After that, in August, it'll be Autobotly August, where myself, Lady Wreck, Beatles Diva, Hahi Prime, Steve Megatron, and a bunch of Ryan the Uneven Flow Merkley will be with us for all Transformers coverage. Steve and I are also celebrating 10 years of all things Transformers with the Pullbag episode 319, Autobotly August, Transformers vs. G.I. Joe Volume 1. So that's going on. That's the IDW series, Transformers vs. G.I. Joe Volume 1. So there's that. Yeah, we got a lot going on here inside the Pullbag. So make your great escape into comics, and we will catch you next time.
Surprised to see me? A little. I'm more surprised that I lived so long.
Batman, Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne, Batman. Or have you met?
Not now!
Great. What did they used to call it? Stereo?
You've just heard the latest episode of The Pullbag, the GCRN's first comic review and discussion podcast. There are several ways to get in touch with us and leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, where you can comment on the episode and all of our different podcasts. You can rate and leave a review for the show on iTunes. Be sure to leave us feedback. Become a fan of us on Facebook, facebook.com/thepullbag. Send us an email, feedback at geekcastradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at thepullbag and at geekcastradio. So until next time, make your great escape into comics and unleash the geek in you.